Hey guys, it's Val and welcome to the second episode of my podcast. So today's topic is going to be about love. Now, what is love? How do we define it? How do we express it? Is there any difference between love and like? And can we be in love? And does being in love mean the same thing as loving somebody? We're going to talk about infatuation and the idea does love really conquers everything. And joining us for this episode is Angie, and I'm going to let her introduce herself.
Hi, it's Angelica. I think people will really be able to relate to this podcast, seeing that it's from someone around people's ages. So I'm just saying to just enjoy. That's pretty much it.
Angie, in your opinion, what do you think love is?
I would say, in my opinion, it's where you're not only sympathetic towards a person, but also empathetic. You don't just feel pity for them when something bad happens. Their happiness is your happiness. Their pain is your pain. They'll take care of you. They'll take care of your emotions, your mentality. They'll take care of you physically. They'll just be there for you.
Yeah.
Sometimes, also, I would say love is where you feel some sexual gratification towards them.
Did you say sexual gratification?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, according to the Webster dictionary, love is both a verb and a noun. As a noun, love is an affection based on admiration and benevolence, which is the desire to do good or common interest. As a verb, love is liking or desiring actively, and it's also taking pleasure in. Now, if we want to go from the Webster dictionary, we can go to the Bible, where we find that in 1 Corinthians 13 verse 4 to 8, it says that love is patient, love is kind, it does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it does not dishonor others, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered, it keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails. Now that we have broad understanding of what love is and how we define it, how do you express love? In your opinion, how have you expressed love or experienced it in a romantic setting?
I've expressed love through physical touch sometimes, or with usually just saying the words like, "Oh, I love you, I appreciate you." I've noticed that when I experience love, it's mainly with giving gifts or that physical touch as well. I've never really noticed any quality time unless it was over the phone,
So you experienced love by when you receive gifts?
I've just noticed that people have done that for me in the past.
Okay, and so when they gave you gifts, did you feel love, or do you think that that's their way of showing that they love you by giving you gifts, but you did not take it? Did you appreciate the gift as that? Did it actually make you feel loved?
In the past, yes, felt like I appreciated the gift, although that's not my number one choice of feeling the love from someone.
Okay. So in 1992, Dr. Gary Chapman, an American author and radio talk show host, published a book named The 5 Love Languages, in which he outlined 5 ways that individuals in a romantic relationship generally expresses love. And so those 5 love languages are commonly known as word of affirmation, quality time, receiving gifts, acts of service, and physical touch. Words of affirmation means telling your significant other that I love you, you look cute today, etc. Quality time is the time that you spend with them doing an activity that you guys both enjoy. Receiving gifts is giving and receiving gifts. Acts of service is when you do something that helps the other person in their life, making their life a little bit easier. Physical touch can go from hugging, cuddling, kissing, and sex, and etc. So now, if you were to rearrange those 5 love languages in order of most important to less important for you, Angie, how would you arrange them?
If I remember correctly, I would do physical touch as the first one, quality time, acts of service, words of affirmation, then acts of service, and then giving gifts.
Alright, so now that we know how people usually express love in a relationship setting, what do you believe the difference is between liking somebody and loving somebody?
The way that you act towards them. I would say that if you like someone, you wouldn't necessarily use your top love language. For example, mine is physical touch. I wouldn't use that with someone that I just like. I would say if you liked someone, you would flirt with them and use your least love language, which for me would be giving gifts. Yes.
Okay, so then that would mean that before you got a boyfriend, when you guys were just in the liking stage of each other, of liking each other, you didn't try to be around him most of the time. So you didn't try to engage in physical ways with him in the beginning?
I wouldn't, but he definitely would. So
would you say that did he do that because that was his primary love language is physical touch?
Yes.
So when it was in the liking phase, he wanted to show you that he liked you by exercising his primary love language, but for you it was the opposite.
Yes.
Even though you liked him and you were interested in him, you did not engage in him with your primary love language.
Yes.
Wow.
Because for me, I would get too attached if I use my primary love language first. I'd get too attached too quickly. Whereas if I just gave gifts, it's like, okay, like it's just a gift, calm down, you know?
So basically, you were afraid of getting attached. That's why you did not engage with your primary love language at first.
Yes.
When you become attached, is this when you fall in love? Is that when you start loving him?
I would say it's one of the first signs that I'm falling in love.
Okay, so the difference between love and like is that for you, liking somebody means that you do not engage with them using your primary love language. However, when you do start loving them, that's when you engage your primary love language with them, because then you've created a sense of attachment.
Yes.
Okay. An ancient philosopher, commonly known as the Buddha, said that the difference between I like you and I love you is when you like a flower, you just pluck it, but when you love a flower, you water it daily. One who understands this understands life. So, would you say that liking something doesn't have the same importance as loving something? Which means that when you like something, you like it, it's important to you, but loving someone is more important.
Yeah, I would say that loving someone is way more important than just liking someone. Let's say if a guy was to say, oh, I like you, and another one was to say, I love you, I'd most likely go with the one that says, I love you. Because it would mean probably a much longer period of attraction, you know,
yes,
during that honeymoon stage, or probably just a longer relationship than with someone that just likes me.
Okay, so have you ever heard somebody ask you this question? Do you love me or are you in love with me? What do you think is the difference between saying I love you and saying I'm in love with you?
I was thinking about this yesterday, and I would say that there is a difference between you love someone and you're in love with them. With love, it's a certain amount of affection, you know, but being in love with someone, I feel like you do above and beyond for them, past your expectations, past your boundaries.
Okay, so in those two situations, saying I love you and I'm in love with you, which one do you think has the most control? Which one is driven by choice and which one is driven by emotion?
Emotion-wise, I would say it would be love. When
so
you say that.
So if somebody says I love you, that means it's driven by emotion. Or if somebody says they are in love with you, then you saying that they have the ability to control themselves and let themselves fall in love with you.
I would say so, yeah.
I think it's different. I think it's flipped. Because I think that it is harder to love than to fall in love. Because you've had those moments where you fell in love with a guy and then 6 months later you fell right back out of love. That's what you call the honeymoon period. It wasn't hard for you to fall in love, was it? But after the 6 month period, then you continually loving that person would require effort or choice. That's why they say love is hard. They never say falling in love is hard, but maintaining that love is hard. That's what I think. So that's what I think the difference is. So that's why I think it's more meaningful if somebody says I love you than if they say I'm in love with you. Because in love, you don't really have much control. Saying I love you means that I'm actively choosing to love you and I'm actively gonna do things in order to show you that I love you consciously. You don't choose to fall in love, but you choose to love. That's why you can leave a guy that was your boyfriend, you call him your ex, and you can still say I love him, but you're not in love with him. Don't you think so?
I would say it's different for every person, and honestly I'm just speaking from experience, and I see your point of view too. It's you don't really choose to love someone, but
no, you do. You choose to love somebody, but you don't choose to fall in love. Yes.
Right.
That just happens naturally.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from, and I've definitely experienced both sides of the coin too.
Do you believe that love can really conquer everything?
No, I strongly disagree with that.
Okay, so what do you think that love cannot conquer?
You said it yourself that after the honeymoon period, that's when they'll start consciously choosing to stay in love with you, or they'll start consciously choosing to stay with you. Because that honeymoon stage ended.
Yeah.
Normally around 1 or 2 years in a marriage, for example, or 1 and 2 years in a relationship is when the most problems would arise. Mm-hmm. And you can't just solely base your problems on, oh, we love each other, so we can get through this. It has to be because you personally want to get through this with your significant other. Or you can choose to get through this problem without your significant other and just let them go. You can love someone and still let them go. And I've heard that sentence so many times, where I love you enough to let you go.
I know, but do you actually believe that though? Do you actually think it's actually legit? Because if we go back to the definition of love, it is basically you have an affection that is based on, so you admire that person, you want to do good for them, and you actually you have so you actively like them and desire them. You want to take pleasure in them. So how are you gonna love the person and then let them go?
Because sometimes they will be doing harm to themselves and to yourself as well.
So then that means you love yourself more than you love the person. Because okay.
What I'm trying to say is, in a case of, let's say, drugs, right? Your significant other was on this rampage, and they're doing harm to themselves, obviously, but then also to your own sobriety.
Okay.
You would love them enough to let them go, so that they have this mentality, I'm losing everything, and that's when they'll make the choice of, I'm gonna get my shit straight, or I'm just gonna keep going down this self-pity hole. And then this also comes into with yourself too. You can't just put your significant other in front of yourself. Because if you do that, then you'll just be in an unhappy relationship. Even if you still love them, you won't be happy.
Okay, so one thing you said that I didn't agree with is that you're going to threaten them in the relationship. That's what it sounds like. It's like saying, if you don't stop doing this, I'm going to go.
No.
Doesn't that sound like a threat to you?
It does, but not exactly with the way that I wasn't trying to. I think I explained it wrong. I wasn't necessarily trying to be like, oh, if you do this, I'm gonna leave you, you know? More like you have a civil conversation with them and be like, my sobriety is as important as yours, and I can only handle this much of your using, and after it starts affecting me and my mindset of being sober, then that's when I'd have to let him go. Not because I'm being selfish, and I'm more like being self-full. I'm more being like, I need to put my life, because in most cases, it's your life over the significant other that you're with at the time. And I choose my life over my significant other every single time.
So is that what this is? So is that, can you call that self-love?
I would say, yeah. I would say that's self-worth and self-love.
Okay, so then that means love doesn't conquer everything. Can love conquer cheating?
No.
Okay, explain.
You got me there. All right. I would say love can conquer cheating if that person that got cheated on is willing to work on that problem. If that person is willing to learn to trust that significant other. So let's say I cheated on my boyfriend, and he was willing to work with me to fix this problem and for me to gain his trust again. Then yes, I believe that can conquer cheating. But in most cases, many people don't tolerate cheating. So I wouldn't say that means that they love them any less. I would just say that is just one of those boundaries that they will not cross.
Okay.
Because either they experienced it before, or they don't want that to happen to themselves.
Okay, I see. As a summarization, you believe that love is?
I believe that love is partner. Someone to be there through the hard times in your life, and for them to support you. And how to express it is, in the beginning of a relationship, it would be important to discuss love languages, like even if it's just casually, oh, what's your love language, because believe it or not, that's a huge impact on your relationship. If you show that person giving gifts and they don't like it, then it's more like you're just doing it because you think that's how they show that's how they are feeling loved. And they don't communicate that.
Yeah, and you believe that there is a difference between love and like, whereas when you like something, you don't really value it as much, but when you love something, you value it more than liking something, because love comes with attachment and time, and you believe that it develops, where liking is easier to happen, right?
Yes.
And then you also believe that being in love and loving somebody they're not the same thing, because you believe that being in love is something that you can choose to do, or is something that you cannot control.
Something that you can't control.
You can control.
Can't.
Okay. And then you don't believe that love can conquer everything. There are some things that love cannot conquer.
Yes.
Like abuse and stuff, right?
Oh yes, definitely. Like abuse, mental abuse, physical abuse, drug use, you know.
Yeah.
There's certain circumstances where love cannot conquer that. And it's completely unacceptable. You know, whether that person, you know, for example, in 13 Reasons Why, that, you know, the girl Jessica still stayed with her boyfriend even after that whole allegation of rape happened. That is not where love can conquer all. That is where you have to cut that person off in the welfare of your safety.
Well, thank you, Angie, for joining us on this episode of the podcast. If any of the listeners wants to get a hold of you, where do you think they can find you?
They can find me on Instagram. Is what I check the most.
Okay, and I heard that you have a Discord group that you have started. Can you tell us about that and what is in it? If somebody wanted to follow you or add you on Discord and join your group.
My Discord has many channels on it, and one of the main things why I started this Discord was to have people who are interested in social sciences, like for example psychology or law. There would be helpful articles, links, videos, some important college prep announcements that would help the students that are interested in social sciences.
So yeah, guys, I'll put on the link to all her handles in the description of this podcast. So thank you guys for joining us for this episode, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye.
Bye guys.